A mother was putting her son to bed on the eve of his 5th birthday. And she was trying to communicate to him this idea, this birthday idea. And she asked the question, Kevin, you know, when you go to bed tonight, this is your last night, the last night of your 4th year. And Kevin is, you know, he was very proud to tell others when they were asking him what age, ask him his age, he would raise his hand and put up his 4 fingers, and he would say, I'm 4 years of age. And his mother just wanted to make sure that he clearly understood that this is it. He's about to turn another age, a year older. And she said, son, do you understand that when you go to bed, you'll be 4, but when you wake up, you won't be 4 anymore? And he was like, yes. She said, do you know what age you'll be? And so he lifted his hand and raised his hand, and he went to add that thumb. And he said, yes, Mama, I know what age I'll be. I will be a handful tomorrow. I know. Put your hand and just pray right now. Well, for all the mothers who have had their hands full, today is your day. Happy Mother's Day. And we celebrate you, yes. We celebrate you, whether you're biological mothers, adopted mothers, foster mothers, or you are the godmothers or mother figures, grandmothers who are now mothers, great-grandmothers. Maybe you are the auntie who's serving as mother, or fathers who are mothers, or you've just been a kind of loving, nurturing, mothering, maternal presence to someone else. Today, we pause to celebrate you and to sing your praises. In fact, I want you to join me in a little Mother's Day cheer. Will you do that? Will you do that? Come on. That's it. M. M. Come on, M. M. Let me remember. What is M for? M for marvelous. Come on. M for mothers are marvelous. O. Mothers are one of a kind. Wouldn't you agree? T. Mothers are our teachers. They're teaching us the truth and the way to go. H. Mothers are the healers, and we look to them for that healing virtue and healing presence. E. Mothers are the exceptional examples of the love of God in action here on earth. R. I'm speaking of my mother, Delia. Mothers are real. So when they tell you something, don't take it lightly. Do what they tell you to do. Right, mothers? Okay. Motherhood has always been a sacred thing in our culture. And we celebrate motherhood because it speaks of something so pure and something good and right. And as we celebrate Mother's Day today, we're looking at the overarching theme, the power of divine love. And mothers are really, and we all have that masculine and feminine energy within ourselves. We all have it. And you may have you've heard this reference to the divine as God, God being mother and God being father, or mother, father, God, as the Christian scientists often affirm. Many of you are familiar with the Christian Science. It was founded by Mary Baker Eddy, referring to the masculine and the feminine energy or aspect of the divine. In sacred texts, when we read about the masculine aspect, and there is a passage that refers to the divine, and it's from Isaiah, that refers to God or the divine as this kind of warring presence, and then also in that same text refers to the divine as this feminine energy that's giving birth, birthing the child. And so when we read of the masculine energy in sacred texts, the masculine aspect of the divine refers to our conscious phase of being, that conscious phase of ourselves. That's the masculine aspect. It's the gatherer. It brings in information, and it gives that information or sow those seeds to the feminine aspect of the self, and that is the subconscious phase of being, as Joseph Murphy calls it in his book, The Power of the Subconscious Mind. And it is through bringing that balance and that harmony that we're able to express and bring into fruition or into manifestation the presence of the divine, as the great avatar from India, Sai Baba. I'm sure some of you are familiar with Sai Baba, who said in the title of his book that we become God through love, that when we love, we are actually being and expressing God here on earth. As I considered Mother's Day and this idea of the power of divine love, I could not help but to reflect on my own experience with my mother. And I was taught not to talk about your personal experiences in your message. And I pray that I don't do that often. I'm very conscious of not doing it. But considering that I really have not shared a Mother's Day message in about 4 years, because I've always had someone else to speak. I was with my mother on Mother's Day. And I'm still with her now, and she's with me. Although I'm here in paradise, Mom. As I reflect on my experience with my mother, and I know that we all have different experiences, and today may be a bittersweet for some, depending on what your experience might have been. But I would dare say that we've all had a mothering, maternal presence in our lives. Have you ever been encouraged or had someone to encourage you or to speak a kind word to you or to love you or to hold you or to comfort you or to tell you that you're more than what you thought you were? That was the feminine aspect of God. That's that motherly presence. So as I consider my own experience with my mother and how my mother taught me key attributes of God. She reflected God. I learned a lot about God, about this presence and power that I call God through my experience with my mother. My mother was she was very kind, not just because she was a Libra. We're 4 days apart. But she was a very kind person. I mean, not only with her children, but she was kind with everyone in the community, at church, in the neighborhood. She did not mind giving all, not just some. She would give all that she had when she was called upon. It was more than just an act of kindness. It was a disposition, and we all knew it. Everyone in the community knew that about her. And as I looked at her, as I think of her, that's how I came to this understanding of this presence and power, God being a kind presence. At heart, compassionate, tender-hearted. My mother was very tender-hearted. I mean, she was compassionate. You could tell her, she wasn't, naive by no means, but because she lived from the heart center, she was often moved to love and moved by love. And she would look for the highest and called forth the highest in the individuals. And we had rascals in our family, as we all do, I'm sure. There might be some rascals sitting up in here. I don't know. But it did not matter. It didn't matter what a person may or may not have done. She would receive them and love them and receive them, this tenderheartedness, this compassion. As Dr. Maya Angelou would say, she says, when we know better, we do better. People can only do what they know. We give at our level of understanding at the moment. So she was very tenderhearted, and that helped to foster this idea of a loving God for me. Not this kind of God that's condemning and chastising and judging and criticizing, but this idea of a loving energy and loving presence, as Paul says in his writings, that there's nothing that we can ever do that can separate us from the love of God. My mother was also, she meant business. She was what's the expression, no nonsense? If she said something, she meant it. Her no's were no, and her yays were yay, or yes was yes. In fact, if you asked her for something, she would tell you, and if she told you, you can bet on it. I would often seek her guidance, as I do now. In fact, I called her yesterday to get an idea for this message, but she didn't have time to talk. She was entertaining guests, but we'll talk today. She taught me and taught us about the omnipresence of the divine, that God is an ever-present help. As Dr. Emily Cady says it in the title of her book, in one of the chapters of her book, Lessons in Truth, that God is an ever-present help. And she would often teach us that when we are moving through experiences, that we can always evoke and invoke the wisdom of the divine. We can invoke that and evoke it. And when we call on it, the answer will appear. We will get the answer. There's always a solution, always an answer. So we didn't do too much without going in prayer. We always began with prayer. My mother was in a car accident about a few years ago. She was driving to her favorite shopping space and place, Wally World, a.k.a. Walmart, right? That's the big shopping center in the area that I grew up, Camden, Tennessee, small town. She was driving to Wally World on this particular day. A deer ran out in front of her and hit the car. The car went spinning several times, just around and around and around. Totaled the car. And there was a passenger, another car coming by, who stopped, saw the entire thing, ran to the car to where my mother was. And my mother was well. He helped my mother get out, and he was asking, "Are you okay?" The paramedics all came. He says, "Where's the other person?" And she says, "Excuse me?" He says, "Where is the other person that was in the car with you?" She says, "Sir, I was traveling alone." He says, "No, I saw the accident. I saw when the deer hit your car. I saw the car spinning, and I saw you at the steering wheel, but there beside you was someone else." She says, "No, there was no one else. That was my angel." God is an ever-present help. So she taught us through demonstration and through her living it that when we need it, when we need to call on it, the presence will show up and meet us at our point of need. And that is the power of this presence that we call love. That we are called to bring it into expression. That we are to demonstrate it. That we are to be it. We are all called to be the mother of God. Yes. Regardless if you're male or female, regardless of your age, we are all called to birth God, to birth the divine, to bring the divine into expression in our life, world, and affairs, in our home, in our families, in our communities. That's when God becomes flesh, and we can see it, and the world needs it. So she taught us to be kind, and I want to encourage you to step in. I know that you're kind. All of you kind people, raise your hand. Yeah. Would your family think so as well? Your friends, your spouse, your mate. Listen, all of you kind people, make it your habit this morning. In the morning when you get up, if you have a partner, if you have a spouse, wake up in the morning with a kind word. It says a kind word will turn away wrath. A kind word will turn away wrath. Put on kindness. When you get up in the morning, say something kind. The first thing that comes out of your mouth, say something. Let it be a kind word to whoever's there with you. Tell them, "Oh, you're beautiful this morning." I don't care if they believe it or not. The hair could be a mess, a total mess, no makeup, whatever. You're beautiful this morning. Try it on right now. Just try it on right now. Tell them, "You're beautiful this morning." Then put on tenderheartedness this week. Let's be compassionate. Let's move around in compassion rather than quick to judge and condemn. Let's appeal to the highest nature of the individual and of each other. Let's come from this core space and place where the divine abides. That's the expression that we hear from our Hindu brothers and sisters when they say namaskar or namaste, which means I salute, I behold that essence, the divine in you. And when you are in that sacred center within yourself, and I am in the sacred center, the same center within myself, we are one. Namaste, namaskar. Then step into the awareness that wherever you are, wherever you go, wherever you find yourself, God is there as God is here. An ever-present help. Nanak said there's no spot where God is not. Wherever you go, if you are in a car, if you're in an uncomfortable experience in your life, if you're in a challenging experience in your life, God is there. And love can move mountains, love can heal the body, love can change the situation, love can change the circumstance, and love can change the condition. This is the power of divine love. God bless you. Happy Mother's Day.